Welcome back to Sandlot the Crew, where Sandlot Radio Show meets Wrecking Yard Baseball and Softball. I'm your host, Will Kiger, a.k.a. Wrecking Yard Will, and we are live here from the Wrecking Yard in Torrance, California, beautiful South Bay. I got next to me Mr. Mason Morioka, owner, operator, former Division I and professional player, Dodger fan, diehard Dodger fan. Next to him, we got Mr. Nicholas Green, led Penn High School to its first ever CIF title in his first year there. Very impressive stuff. He's also one of our coaches here that gives lessons. Next to him, we have young superstar on the rise, Nate Torres, tearing it up on the coaching scene. Everybody loves this dude. He's the man. We're very, very lucky to have him. He heads our 9U team. He also plays at El Camino College. He's a catcher who has been under Mason for a long, long time, and he's going to be doing big things this year. We're excited to see him. So right now, we are going to be discussing the rule changes, and then we're going to get into some of the awards, the MVP award, Cy Young award, some of those things. So just to recap, the main rule changes for this year was the pitch clock, the shift being banned, the bigger bases, and 2 pickoffs. So let's start with the pitch clock. Mason, how did you feel about this pitch clock?
Like and dislike it. You know, I think that it sped up the game, but 2, I don't think your, call it everyday fan understands what goes on in between your ears, in between pitches, so I think by shortening that time, giving the hitter 30 seconds to get in the box and get ready before the next pitch comes, I think that's a really short amount of time to really go through your process upstairs and really figure out, like, what is my game plan? How am I going to attack this pitcher? And like I said, your normal everyday fan that isn't, greatly educated in baseball won't see that. So to me, I really don't like it in that regard. But in terms of getting to a 7 o'clock game and you're getting home by 9:30, 10 o'clock instead of, 11 o'clock or midnight, for kids, that makes a lot more sense. And I'm sure with ticket sales as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think the rule change there, the pitch clock is for the fans. I think it's definitely like you said, there's time when we go to Dodger games, 7:10 first pitch, and I'm not getting home till midnight, and I have school the next day on Tuesday. And it was hard. My mom would hate that. But for the player side, like, tempo is a big thing in baseball. And if a pitcher is working fast and a guy's working fast, like, you want to slow him down. And I think that gives a little bit of an advantage to the defense and to the pitcher because he's just working so fast. He's able to mow down guys. And, like, part of the strategy, if that is happening, like, you want to take your time, step out, give yourself a second. And you're trying to do that, and you can get punished with the strike. That could be your strike 3 of your last step if you're at bat. So it's kind of
That is
unfair.
true. We saw some third strikes where guys just weren't ready, and that was kind of a bummer. But hey, that's part of the rule change, and it seemed like guys adjusted relatively quickly. And by the end of the year, you really weren't seeing it. Greener, how did you feel about the pitch clock?
When it first got introduced, I was absolutely against it. I feel like if you're a baseball purist, you believe that, like, there shouldn't be a time clock. That's not part of our game. Seeing it and going to a game, I didn't mind it as much, just accepting that, hey, this is where it's going. And baseball's trying to, I don't want to say stay relevant, but make it towards more of a product for fans to be able to watch and, I don't want to say enjoy. I think baseball is enjoyable in itself if you really love it. But, you can't have 4-hour games, not when you have football and these other things that are getting down to like 3, 2.5. Like, it's how much can you consume the most little amount of time. We don't have time now to even watch, like, all of us. We have, phones at our fingertips, and, if someone sends you a 10-minute video, you're kind of like, I'm not going to get around to this. Someone throws you a 15-second clip, you're like, okay, I got the time. Yeah. So being able to be more digestible, I think that's definitely where baseball is trying to head. So I'm a little bit more accepting to this one than I am to the other ones that have popped up in this year or recent years.
Yeah, personally, after seeing the way it's played out, I really love the pitch clock. I think, like you were saying, the game needs to be more digestible. It needs to be at a faster pace. We all love baseball, but I think, at least I will say, I won't speak for anyone else, that it can be not entertaining to watch on TV. In person, it's always great, but on TV, it can be unbearable to watch, even for somebody who loves baseball and understands what's going on. So to see it pick up and be quicker, it's made it much more enjoyable for the average fan or somebody who's necessarily not a super baseball fan to be able to watch it on TV in person. Nate, to your point about the pitchers, I think it really helped some guys, honestly, because they're sitting there thinking way too much in between pitches. Garrett Cole's a prime example. He's a guy who's super cerebral, and he actually won his first Cy Young this year. And I think the pitch clock helped him a lot because he didn't have time to sit there and just overthink. And then you can kind of get into a rhythm. You can get into a groove. Overall, I love the pitch clock. I think it's shortened the game. It's made it more entertaining. And baseball's a great sport, but you know, we're in competition with every other sport, every other thing on the internet and social media. We need to adapt, and it's moving the game in the right direction, in my opinion. So let's go to the shift being banned. I'll start since I'm already talking right now. I also love this rule. I'm honestly a fan of pretty much all the rules, so you're not going to see me really hating on any of the rules right now, to be honest, because baseball was just boring as shit, dude. To be honest, it was boring as shit. It was not fun to watch. And this is making the game fun. You know, dudes are having fun. The game's flowing at a good pace. The shift, dude, that drove me crazy. It absolutely drove me crazy. Like the data and the analytics they have, they were able to place players exactly where people hit the ball. And it was so frustrating to watch dudes hit absolute rockets and someone just standing there like, yup.
That's part of the game.
It was. It's not no more, and I'm glad. So, what do you think?
Again, both sides of the fence here. To me, having the shift is good homework. You know, like you're taking this data that you've collected. You know, now with baseball being as data driven as it is, you know, you're taking that away in a sense. But again, going back to talking about your normal fans. You know, with the ban of the shift now, you get to see more base hits. You get to see more balls find you know, holes through the 3-4 hole, 5-6 hole, back up the middle.
Especially ground balls.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, an absolute seed ground ball, you know, 110 off the bat, that's going in the 3-4 hole is a 7-12 hopper at the second baseman in a shift.
Yeah,
you know
they're playing shallow right field, and it's lefties really got killed in the shift.
Absolutely.
Greener, what do you think?
Being a defensive guy, you know, I think that it sucks. I think that being able to know your opponent and understand like what he's going to do and to be able to adjust yourself accordingly based off of data, based off of playing them and knowing. I think not being able to have that, certainly from a defensive aspect, that kind of sucks. I understand, again, doing it now makes it more digestible of a product for baseball because now you do have more base hits. You do have guys that are getting on base and, you know, creating action in the game because out of a 3-hour game, the ball is only live for 6 minutes, you know, average time. So, you know, if it was with the shift going on, if that was with 6 minutes, maybe now we're getting 8 minutes, which, you know, it helps. It makes it a little bit more action and fun. But certainly something that I think with it being data driven now and analytics being so prevalent in our game, I think that it's helped and it's hurt a lot, and it causes a lot of mixed feelings. I feel with a lot of us, I would say old heads now, me and you, you know, and us older with how we feel about the game and where is it going. You know, I think that baseball has always, or you know, these are big corporations, so it's, you know, the long ball was a big thing, like we talked about in the, you know, previous segments of like, you know, steroids. There was no problem. Chicks dig the long ball.
That's right.
Like, so, you know, home runs were prevalent. So, I mean, it was okay. Like, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna turn a blind eye to this. Okay, the whole steroids issue comes out. You know, baseball goes, oh, we didn't know. And then, you know, where they tried to distance themselves, but then baseball also goes on and buys Rawlings and now starts tinkering around with the baseballs to create more juice in the baseballs.
Yep.
So that way guys can hit more home runs because that's what the sport needed. Now you got guys that, you know, I mean, going from our era of playing, you had maybe one, maybe two guys that threw over 95 in your, you know, pitching staff. Now everyone's throwing 95 and up, throwing straight cheese. and you're going up there and the game is slower, and now it's like, hey, I'm trying to hit a home run here, or I'm just trying to make solid contact. It becomes a battle in itself. To see strikeouts go up, it's not a surprise. Look at the way the arms are. Things are just getting nastier being thrown to you. Velocity is all the way up. Guys, if they make contact with that, what have we always said? If he's throwing faster, let him be the power for you. So I just think that, it's good and bad.
Nathan, how do you feel about the shift?
I don't like the rule change. I think it's all strategy, right? Teams do their research. Teams look at the data. Teams look at that stuff of hitters that they're playing that week. So they give their team the best chance to win. Think of it like football. That's like telling a football team, hey, don't watch film on who you're going to play next. Just go out and play them, right? It's all part of the game, whether it's, at the collegiate high school level where guys are filling out charts of a team in the fall. So when they see them in the spring, they know what's going on. Like those guys are, not in the game, but they're doing what they can do to help their team win. Mm-hmm. And if I have that data, why not? Why am I not allowed to use it? What is the actual rule? Like, what do they say the second baseman has to be?
Yeah, so keep in mind that this doesn't mean defensive players cannot be adjusted. It just means that the shortstop and third baseman have to stay on this side of second. Yeah. Second base and first base got to stay on this side, and they can't be in the grass. So you can still put guys right up the middle, or you can still shift them. It's just you can't put your second baseman in right field. You can't put your shortstop in short center field. It hasn't completely adjusted, but Mason, do you have one last quick thing, and then we're going to move on?
And it kind of segues into Nate is, I kind of think back a couple years ago when I went to watch your CIF championship game, mm-hmm. and, based on the pitch that was getting called,
the shortstop would move.
Absolutely. Yeah. There was a lot of movement from the infield and the outfield mm-hmm.
During
that game as I observed it. So to me, some of it is a little bit psychological too, is like, hey, I see the shortstop move into the 5-6 hole. Maybe I'm thinking breaking ball,
and or fastball blows you away.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that to me also can kind of play a factor into, maybe it's less of the homework and more like kind of digging into somebody's head.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think overall, I can definitely see both sides of the argument when it comes to the shift. It is strategy, it is analytics. I get all that, but I just think overall, for the overall greatness of the game of baseball, I don't like seeing hard hit balls not rewarded. It means less hits, it means less runs, it means less stolen bases. It just means less action, and I want to see baseball as popular as any other sport. So I get the defensive strategy, but in my opinion, I do not like the shift. So let's move on. Let's try to keep these takes relatively quick here, and let's go with the bigger bases. How are we feeling?
I freaking hate this one. This one's the absolute worst. We talk about baseball as a game of inches, right? And now the bases are what, 2 inches?
I think three inches.
3 inches bigger, right? So yes, in terms of the action, you're gonna see more stolen bases. But I think the whole point of it was to avoid collisions at first base.
That was part of it for sure.
So now here's my opinion on this. In girls' youth softball, they have 2 bases. They have a white base and an orange base. The orange base is what the runners or the hitters are able to step on, whether to be safe or out.
Right.
Whereas the first baseman now has to work with the white bag.
Yeah.
Right. You do something like that. Split that bag in half. The orange side is in foul territory. The white side is in fair territory. Right. Now the bases stay the same size, all 3 of them, right. First, second, and third. And now the game still becomes a game of inches, where you're kind of taking that away from the catchers, and mm-hmm. I know we're going to segue into, the pickoffs here pretty soon, but, it's just giving base runners more and more opportunity to be safe.
Yeah. I'm not mad at the idea of a second first base for the runner, but I think the main reason the MLB did this is because they wanted more stolen bases. That's why they did it for all 3 bases. And I think the less collisions was somewhat of a benefit, but I don't know how much 3 inches is really saving collisions. But Greener, what do you think about it?
I think that every move that they're making right now is to make the game more digestible. Every move that they're making is to create more action in the game. With basketball, the ball's always in play. There's always movement. There's always action. With football, there's tackling. The ball's always being thrown, ran. baseball, it's not. Like, you have to wait for that ball to be put in play, really. And there's just not enough of it. So if you can make the bases a little bit bigger, if you can make it to where a pitcher's got to throw it in 20 seconds, if you got to create no shift and that ball, balls that were ripped now are actually now rewarded as hits. Now you got guys on base. Now guys are, instead of being maybe a little bit bigger like Prince Fielder and just able to, be a hitter, but now you got guys like Corbin Carroll that, maybe it's a little bit more speed, a little bit less power, still can hit 20 jacks, but I think that you're seeing the game is going to start changing again in different bodies, in different ways we assess players of who am I looking for as a prospect, get a little bit more speed.
Speed's definitely becoming more valuable.
Speed, contact, stuff that was, that was
traditional in the game.
Exactly.
Right.
So I think that we're trying to get back to that way. So I don't have a problem with it. I thought it was funny when they first came out with it and they're talking about how big the bases were going to be. It was like the size of like a pizza box.
Yeah.
That to me was hilarious.
Yeah.
It definitely, when it first saw it, it was like, wow, that's got like 3 inches. You don't think it's that big. And you're like, oh, that base looks, it's like a medium pizza I get over there at Pizza Hut, so, but it got used to it. No different than the pitch clock. So to me, I'm fine with it now.
Yeah. Nate, how do you feel about it?
I'm okay. I understand how they want more, more action, more guys to steal, stuff like that. The 2 points I don't like though are that bang bang play now, safe.
100%.
No, you have no chance. The bang bang play, he's safe, and then the other fact is when a guy is diving, stealing third base, and the third baseman is catching, and the guy's trying to avoid the guy, and he's diving way far out, and he has an extra 3 inches to go and get that backside of the base. Now someone has to chase.
Yep.
Or same thing, play at second base. From the catcher's throwing down, he has to chase again. I mean, you've seen these guys slides. Guys are doing swim moves. Guys are doing all these things. It just makes it so much harder for the defense. I think MLB is trying to push for offense numbers and everything to go up. They want the game to be more offensive.
On top of that, they're wearing these freaking oven mitts that give them an extra 3 inches on their hand as well.
And now all these kids in here have the same ones.
I know.
With ice cream on them and all this. I said, dude, you don't even steal a base and you have that on. Why do you have that on?
I'm curious, and I don't know if you guys know, when are the bases going to start changing down onto college and high school?
That is a good question. I have no idea, but
because I wonder how that
imagine they
the
will. They will start.
Aspect.
I think every level is going to start modeling what the MLB does because obviously that's the ultimate goal. So you will see that for sure. But I think we could all, at least my girlfriend could tell you that 3 inches makes a good difference.
There you go.
With that being said, Greener, don't lie over there. All right. So 2 pickoffs. How do we feel about the 2 pickoffs? They can pick off a third time, but they have to get him out. Yes. So, and if you don't, the guy automatically gets second base. So how do you guys feel about the pickoffs?
That is a load of crap.
Yeah.
This is crucial to the pitch clock because that would be a loophole, and all they'd have to do is pick off, and they could have as much time as they want. So it was necessary.
But you know what also is a loophole? You having pitch comm now to where you don't have to go through all these signs, and I could literally sit there and is that batter takes a step out or he's coming up? I can already go through the whole sequence if I wanted to as to what our plan is and going through it. Like, to me, if you can't defend the run game and be able to throw over when you want to, that's a chess match in itself, especially when you start talking about playoff baseball. I mean, if there's any case in point to that, Mariano Rivera and Dave Roberts back in 2004 with the Boston Red Sox and that matchup, you knew exactly what Dave Roberts' job was when he got inserted in that game, and it was to steal second base. Everybody on the whole field knew it. Like, if you cannot control that, then if you want to go from baseball's aspect, well, great. Now there's more action. Now we get to see if there's that bang, bang, and there's that, maybe the anticipation of it. But at the same time, like, you've now made it as a defense. How do I defend that? I only get 2 opportunities. Like, that's...
And once,
you could pitch out.
It's over.
Yeah.
Once you use the 2, it's over. It's a free... I mean, I've seen so many clips of it. Guys pick off twice, and then the dude's already taking a running lead.
Pitch out.
Yeah.
No,
pitch
but
out.
gets him to disengage. Well, it gets him to step off and
free base.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Nate.
Yeah, I mean, you could slide step, you could pitch out, but I mean, I agree. I can see both sides of the argument for sure. That was not my favorite rule. I will say, out of all the rules that changed, the 2 pickoffs was definitely not my favorite. But again, like I said, it's kind of necessary because it would be a loophole to to the pitch clock. And again, MLB wants more stolen bases, and this is something that encourages stolen bases. And when you look at the numbers, yes, they did go up, but it actually wasn't as much as you would think it would be. With the bigger bases, no pick, all that stuff, you would think it would be an incredible, insane amount more. It was not that much more.
Because it's not valued. Baseball's placing a value in it now about having action and guys stealing. But as far as if your contract says, hey, we're looking for you to hit 30 bombs, try to have an average of 270 or above, and guess what? You have okay wheels. We don't need you stealing bases.
Well, I think you're going to see next year a lot more stolen bases, because you look at teams like the D-backs, who I think led the major leagues in stolen bases. Look where they ended up. And there's certain situations where swiping second base is extremely valuable. You got 2 outs and you got a runner on first and you can get him to second. That's very valuable. So like we were saying, I think speed is going to be a big factor. You're going to see more stolen bases. But like I said, not my favorite rule. Anything else? Anybody have anything else super quick? Okay, cool. We're going to wrap this segment right here. You're watching Sandlot and the Crew, where Sandlot Radio Show meets Wrecking Yard Baseball and Softball. When we come back, we are going to be talking about the postseason awards, so make sure you guys check that out.